Good afternoon, everybody. You made it to the afternoon rush here on Monday, March 3rd, 2025. Here are all the stories we have for your drive home. We have another Oscars story for you as Adrien Brody becomes the longest-winded speech of all time. He broke the record. I'll share what that record was. And then we have a Fyre Fest update. They're still trying to sell tickets to this spring Fyre Fest. Will you be going? They haven't named an artist yet. Hey, maybe I'll be there. Who knows? And also a measles update as RFK Jr. is now telling people to get their measles vaccine, and the cyber unit was paused. What does this mean? A unit, I guess, that monitors Russian cyber attacks is put on pause. That's great. And then also Blake Lively's co-star, Brendan Sklenar, gives a update on his thoughts on the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni situation. He responds from the red carpet, and he wants nothing to do with this. I'll share what he had to say. But he is bailing on Blake Lively, guess just like Taylor Swift did. And then we're going to give you some Bachelor drama. I interviewed former producer of Bachelor in Paradise, Alana Noel, from her podcast Recipe for Crazy. She shares some stories about rampant drug use on the set. You don't even have to enjoy the show The Bachelor to want to listen to what she had to say. It's fascinating. So I got all those stories and more. It's happening right now on The Rush. Well, if brevity was an Oscar, he would not be winning it. Adrien Brody becomes world record holder with longest acceptance speech in Oscar history at 5 minutes and 40 seconds long. The previous winner was 5 minutes 30 seconds, held by Greer Garson, according to Guinness World Records, when she won for Mrs. Miniver in 1943. The thing that made his speech so terrible is that he didn't really say much. I mean, look, we've all been there. He was kind of like filibustering to remember what he had to say. Write it down. Why can't they take these speeches? Everyone writes it, throw it into the teleprompter, and then if you win, they pop it up. Come on. I'll bring a cue card for you next time. All right, and here's your update on the Fyre Festival, as TMZ interviewed Billy McFarland. He is no longer in jail from the first Fyre Fest, or lack thereof. And here is what he has to say about the second time being the charm.
As I've seen, you don't have any artists lined up yet. So you're telling people to buy tickets when they have no idea who is going to be performing at this thing, if anyone is going to be performing, because that was the issue with the first Fyre Fest.
Listen, if you build it, they will come. The problem with Fyre Fest 1 is they didn't finish building it in time. The people actually came.
Isn't it kind of wild that a music festival has this much buzz with no actual music artists? So maybe the marketing plan is working, but I think you guys have to have me back on when we actually announce the talent.
Billy, Billy, I'm sorry, but I have to say this. You're describing exactly what happened the first time when you ended up going to prison for it. Are you worried that if this doesn't come together, that there are going to be consequences for you?
The biggest difference this time is that there is a real festival company actually operating Fyre Festival. So
he's like, I got a lawyer this time. To be honest, I want to go. I do. I'm not going to, but I want to go. Look, if they sell enough tickets, they'll be able to get anyone. Look, everyone can go for the right dollar. Get Mark Rebier. Get him down there. Come on, throw him a couple $100,000. Or better yet, if you can get an artist to work on some sort of equity deal, then they'll show up and get a percentage of ticket sales. Either way, you can see why no one wants to go. But hey, listen, I said this the first time around. Sure, he went to jail. But, the difference between going to jail for fraud versus throwing a hell of a party really just, would have been if they could get those FEMA tents built in time.
I have fun coming on here and talking to you guys, and I have fun, hopefully swimming with the whale sharks and getting people to get outside their comfort zone. But there are real music professionals doing this. We do have real artists. They'll be announcing them professionally, and I'm just trying to stir the pot and hopefully have a couple of really fun people who understand that life ultimately is about getting outside of your comfort zone and taking risks. And I'd love to meet those people at Fyre too.
Do you actually all have some artists booked, but we just haven't announced it yet?
Correct. We have artists booked.
Would you give us one?
I wish I could, but let me get comfortable here.
How about a hint that describe what decade is this, was their heyday, this performer?
There's a great current DJ, and she is going to lead a whale shark excursion during the day and then perform at night. So
Wow, whale sharks. I've swum with whale sharks. How fun. So there's no way this is going to go wrong. I mean, best case scenario, you get your leg bitten off. No, as I've learned, whale sharks will not attack you. It's the hammerhead sharks that swim with the whale sharks that you have to worry about. All right, well, speaking of sharks, how about this beef story? Texas Republican focuses on rebranding of New York strip steak to Texas strip steak amid outbreak. So this is like when we decided we didn't like France 20 years ago, so we changed French fries to freedom fries. This is atrocious. You know, these guys are literally the worst people. State grapples with the worst measles outbreak in decades, and Patrick Holmes in on resolution to better market Texas beef. Now, I don't hate the idea if you're from Texas and you want to change it from New York strip to Texas strip, but it's like, you know what? Maybe just keep your people from dying. Maybe do that. You know what I mean? I mean, heck, RFK Jr. says the measles outbreak is a call to action for all of us. The MMR vaccine is crucial to avoiding potential deadly disease. So the measles is spreading across the country. Again, I'm not saying this for people to live in fear, but I think you need a 95% of vaccination rate to keep measles from spreading in your neighborhood. So we'll have to see what that even means. But, be safe out there. Now, the problem with measles is it can take like 3 weeks before you show symptoms. So, you get one person that sneezes on you at a farmer's market. Next thing you know, you go to some cheerleading squad event and the whole world has it, But again, we'll have to see, not get ahead of our skis here. We'll have to see what goes down with that. Now, this is an interesting story. CBS was reporting U.S. officials confirm that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, formerly a Fox News reporter and, served in the military, has ordered a pause on all U.S. cyber command operations against Russia, though the reason and duration remains unclear. Strange story. Have a listen.
People have a lot of questions here, and in the meantime, we're hearing about a directive given to U.S. Cyber Command regarding Russia. What can you tell us about it?
Well, multiple U.S. officials tell CBS News that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has directed U.S. Cyber Command to pause all planning against Russia, including offensive digital actions. Now, the duration of this pause is unclear. The reasoning behind it is also unknown at this time. It's a change that notably comes amid Trump's efforts to negotiate an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. But when he was asked yesterday, the National Security Advisor said it has not been part of these discussions. So there's still a lot we're trying to figure out about this.
Now, here's a neutral response for you. I believe that Russia has been meddling in our politics for years with troll farms, bots, trying to sow division. I currently don't believe it's for one party versus another as far as the election's concerned. I think they just want to get us to all hate each other. I think it's just easy to divide us by getting us to hate each other. And if that's their goal, bravo. Oscar for getting the United States to hate each other goes to Russian disinformation campaigns. So the idea of not looking into bot farms or whatever fraud or cybersecurity issues is a little scary to me, because I think Russia's greatest strength isn't their boots on the ground military. It's their ability to sow distrust. And I think we should be worried about that if we're on the left or the right. That's my thought. All right, well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, pay some bills, and we're going to come back with Brendan Sklenar on It Ends With Us talking about Blake Lively, or should I say, avoiding the conversation about Blake. That coming next. All right, here it is. We have Brendan Sklenar being interviewed at the Vanity Fair red carpet, the who's who of who on the red carpet after last night's Oscars. He was asked point blank about Blake Lively, of course, minutes after the interview started. The interviewer knew what they had to do. They knew the assignment. We're going to ask you some dumb questions so we can butter you up and hope you say something about Blake Lively. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen Brendan Sklenar in the show 1923, have you guys watched? It's a good show. It's a really good show. It's pretty provocative, the new season. Either way, when it comes to It Ends With Us, he co-starred with her and, of course, was defending her when her initial complaint came out. I'll be honest, I don't blame him. I don't blame Brendan Sklenar for sticking up for Blake Lively, given the New York Times article. I mean, if you read the article, it was damning. damning against Justin Baldoni. So I don't blame him. I think most people would have saw what was so obvious, although in hindsight it wasn't, and immediately stuck up for their co-star. I mean, but then again, obviously being directed by Justin Baldoni, maybe in hindsight it would have been nice to float some text by them and say, hey, is this true, before we speak out? And, but that's how the internet works. People want a quick take, and we're going to find out from Brandon. He learned his lesson about not giving a quick take. Here's his response to the questions about, hey, how's it going supporting Blake Lively? Great question. Hilarious question.
And finally, I know you're very supportive over your female co-stars as well. Yeah. Blake Lively, how are you hoping to support her during this time?
I mean, I just, it's a tough situation, and I just hope everyone remembers what the movie's about and why we made it in the first place, and it's about love, and it's about.
So of course they have PR people, and they say, look, when you're asked a question about Blake Lively, circle back to the conversation about what the movie was about, which again makes no sense because he's not promoting the movie. He's just on a red carpet. It makes no sense to talk about what It Ends With Us was about, because like this idea, well, I'd hate to take away from the message of the film. Sorry, hombre. It's gone. You know what I mean? It's gone. That ship has sailed. Either way, he does his best. You can give him an Oscar for deflecting.
Supporting women in general and helping people through tough times. And that movie's helped so many people. And I just want people to remember like what it's about and why we made it, and to kind of keep it on that kind of like core ethos. You know what I mean?
So there it is. That's the end of that. And he knows he's going to get asked these questions, and he's not going to give a better answer than that. That is neutrality, folks. That is neutrality. All right. Well, without further ado, why don't we just jump right into it? Here's my chat with a producer from the show The Bachelor who has incredibly interesting tea to share with you all. It's Alana Noel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited today to talk to returning guest, host of the Recipe for Crazy podcast. It's Alana Noel. How are you?
I'm great. Hello.
Man, I just listened to your podcast. You are so good at this. The music that plays behind your dramatic storytelling to catch my audience up. You were a producer on a bunch of different shows, but we're going to talk about your time at producing Bachelor in Paradise. You dropped so many bombshells in 25 minutes. It's insane.
Because I saw the article, that was on Deadline. And I read it, and I just opened the floodgates. I just started typing on my phone, and I was like, well, I guess everyone's just speaking their truth. So,
yeah, you mentioned that they have bigger fish to fry because The Bachelor's, a lot of producers and showrunners have been fired. You worked for the show, and were you let go or did you quit?
It was a departure, how they say we're going to cut ties for now, but it was pretty much a firing. But it was ultimately because there was just a lot of things going on between me and my ex-boyfriend that was causing issues.
Some issues. Now, if you were making up the accusations you've made, you probably would have been sued by now, but no lawsuits have come your way?
Nope.
Okay, so in this episode, which I need everyone to go listen to, you talk about the fact that there were, and you mentioned this before, that your boyfriend, who was a producer, was snorting lines in the boom boom room with contestants, that heroin has been done with contestants, and that there was some sort of reward system to get your contestants on the show to accuse each other of certain things. Do I have that right?
Right. So everything you have right, but the last thing you said about the reward system, I'm assuming you're talking about the $100 Venmo thing.
Yeah. Explain that whole scenario to us.
Or
what you can say.
Yeah, I'm trying to say. There would be situations where it's like to my ex-boyfriend, a producer said to him, a couple producers, EPs, will send you money if you can get, I forgot who it was, Will or whoever it was, to throw the jacket in the pool. I was on Michelle's season. And it like things like that would happen periodically. I think they happened a lot more back in the day, and during my time it was like more sparingly, but things like that would happen. Yeah.
So what would like the strategy be to get them to do that? Do you say, "Hey, this will be good TV, just throw this out there," or is it like this is your audition to get on Bachelor in Paradise? Like how do because we always wonder as audience, like why that, they throw a cake in the fire or they throw a jacket in the pool. There's always some crazy thing going on that would never happen in real life.
I mean, sometimes people just want to do it. Every situation's different. Some people who are on television just want to cause a scene. They want to make good TV. And then there's a lot of times where people don't want to do things. And it really is dependent on the person you're working with on how to get them to do something. Like I'm not going to be specific to the scenario or show, but and if this person's listening, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But I said, if you do this, we'll go get McDonald's after.
So
like that's just like an innocent one, but there's like so many different. That's like probably the most innocent way I've gotten someone to do something.
It's so interesting, but something so simple like that could work if they're stressed out. Stress what makes us want to just eat sugar and relax. And if you can find people's stress points, you can probably get them. I mean, this is like the whole thing, with the government with like false confessions, right? Like they confession.
Oh, yeah, they bring you a Coke and then they like give you a cigarette, act like they're your friend. Like if you're in an interrogation room and then you just like start spilling like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably similar techniques because they get the contestants so fried, so sleep deprived and things like that. But on the Women Tell All, you were able to convince your Shanae, who is the villain on the season, to accuse a contestant of sleeping. What can you explain that story now? And what do you actually know was going on? Because there was a kind of a deeper. You were actually being cheated on, but didn't know it. Is that right?
Right, that's correct. So Shanae genuinely did not like Genevieve. Like that whole storyline all rang true. Like she really didn't. And I've talked about this before. I think Genevieve like posted a story holding a rose and it like circulated the internet because she was with Aaron Clancy and the person I was with at the time happened to be there as well. So when that Instagram story was out, Shanae really thought that her and Aaron hooked up or something. Because I think we were even still filming. Like we were in Iceland at the time for Clayton's finale. So she genuinely believed that, but she didn't want to go on stage and say it. And so she just wanted confirmation that it happened. And then she said she would do it if she got 100% confirmation. And so because the person I was seeing happened to be there that night, I asked him if he could confirm it to her that it happened. And he did. But
and so she goes live on air and says, and is able to throw under the bus Genevieve. But
I can imagine what Genevieve was feeling. I think about that so much because like she knew who she really did sleep with, which was the person I was with, who was a producer on the show. And she had no idea that was going to happen. So I can't imagine what was going through her mind when Genevieve made the accusation, because it was a half truth, because the thing did happen. It just wasn't with Aaron Clancy.
You know what's interesting is the Bachelor media ecosystem has not covered any of your accusations. Were you surprised by that? I mean, you're a producer who's been on the show, very reputable too. You've had other, good gigs as producers, Kardashian, you've been in the Kardashians ecosystem, Bad Girls Club. So were you surprised when you literally said they were doing hard drugs with contestants and no one really picked this up?
It's the accusations are so wild that, and I mean, I talked about, sorry, my cat Frank, he's like getting crazy. I talked about this in my last episode that like, what have I really done to make myself a reliable source or a credible source? Like I've created this, brand on my social media of being crazy and telling all these wild stories. So I don't know. I haven't really given it much thought, but I think either if media has seen it and like wanted to publicize it or, do anything, perhaps they like went to ABC or Warner Brothers for a comment and they discredited me, or something, or like silenced it. I have had media outlets reach out though, but I've not accepted.
The reason why I believe you, well, one of the reasons I find you to be credible because you don't hold yourself to a high standard. You're kind of like self-deprecative. You say, "Oh, I'm just a crazy," but like you worked on the show, you got hired. I'm sure a lot of people wanted that job. You were probably overqualified with your sort of resume, and nothing you've said has been like inflammatory for clicks. You see TikTokers that'll say things that sound so absurd. You just speak your truth and then you go on with your day, which to me is like, yeah. And I think if you were lying, you would at least get thrown a cease and desist. I'm sure you know a lot more secrets. You didn't explain why, but you said Chris Harrison was fired for a reason that wasn't related to the Rachel Kirkconnell storyline. Can you give us any hints as to what that might be, or is it scandalous or what? Like, what do you know?
Egos is like what I could say, but I do there. That's not, I mean, ultimately that's why it all started, but he was dangerously close to like making a return, but there was an ego situation amongst, an EP and him. And
Yeah,
that's real. Yeah.
So they probably took the chance to get rid of him when they could. Now you, let's see. I wanted to ask you about you. You talked in your last episode about how a lot of the men that have had these issues on the show are the ones that don't get fired, and people like you are no longer around. Do you think that's an issue like with the climate of Bachelor or just reality TV in general?
I think it's an issue just globally. I mean, in any kind of corporate environment, but I've worked on a lot of TV shows, and I think like one of my mindset when going into working into entertainment was you kind of just have to be one of the boys because there is a lot of it's very male dominated. But I've never had an experience to that level of like the misogyny and everything ever on any show like I did on The Bachelor. And I mean, if you listen to my podcast, like I don't talk about any other shows in like a negative light, really. Because I don't have, I mean, there's certain people, of course, I don't like that I've worked with throughout the years, but nothing comes close to what was happening on that show. And
I'm sure there was a lot of I'm sorry. I'm sure there was a big ego because it really was such a popular show. Ratings are abysmal. When you talk, I mean, it feels like work to get through the recent seasons. This new Bachelor in Paradise will have a new showrunner. So, I mean, do you think this show do you still watch it or do you think it's on the fritz?
I haven't watched it, but I think the problem with the show is that cancel culture has really brought it down, and now just like where their mindsets are is less on like the creative or bringing in very strong leads of the show and more focused on appeasing a small amount of comments they might get or things they see online about what the audience is saying, and they're not necessarily making the best executive decisions to make the show the best it can be. I think I forgot where I heard this, but I heard somewhere someone talking about, maybe I was listening to Game of Roses or something, but somebody was I think it might have been that the host of that show is talking about how controlled it is. And that's exactly, he like nailed it. Like the show is so controlled. They don't let the cast just like just exist and create their own situation. So I think that the audience is not stupid and they know when things are manufactured, and that just like loses the viewers' trust and makes the numbers go down, the viewership go down. And I think they just keep continuing to like scramble to try and make it better. And they just need fresh blood. I think new blood could help the show.
Yeah, when you talk about a lot of times some of these cable reality shows or Netflix, they have the room to just do their own thing. And that creative freedom can bring out the best in somebody versus make them something that they're not. And the show is so formulaic that it's like, all right, episode 4, 2 on one date, episode 5, someone's going to do, and it becomes so scripted that people are genuinely exhausted with how it all plays out. So, hey, who knows? They should hire you back. Would you work on the show again, or are you reality TV done?
I'm reality TV done.
Well,
Yeah, I'm reality TV done.
I really mean this. Your podcast episode was so fun to listen to. It's so bite-sized, and you're such a good storyteller. And trust me, I don't say this just to say it. I think you're really funny, and you got to keep doing it, because I was on the edge of my seat. So I want everyone to go give it a listen. And is there anything else we can promote for you?
Not right now, but soon there will be something. I've been working on something really exciting. I've kind of been dark online recently because I've been buried in writing something I'm doing.
Come back when you promote it, and we'll get all of our eyeballs on it.
Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on the show. And the last thing I was going to say is I was actually talking to Courtney Robertson about this, about the whole being sued aspect. And it's like, when I think about the possibility of them suing me, I would just think, like, I have way more to come at them with than the other way around. Do you know what I mean?
We'll help you with your legal defense. We want to see you fight the man.
I don't want any of that. I'm too tired.
But I don't think they are going to sue you. I think you've it's been at least a year of you telling some crazy stories about the show, and they have been quiet, hoping not to draw any attention, Barbara Streisand style, right? They don't want the Streisand effect. So that's a reason enough for people to go check out your podcast, Recipe for Crazy. Alana Noel, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Well, another great episode in the books, if I must say so myself. That's a great way to end Monday. You made it home from work. I'm done with work. We can all party. It's all downhill from here, baby. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to support the channel, you can scan that QR code if you're watching on YouTube. That'll take you to the audio-only podcast app and give us a nice 5-star review. Make sure to subscribe, share with your friends. I appreciate all the love we're receiving and this grassroots effort to keep the channel growing in abundance. Thank you all so much. We'll see you in the morning. I'm Dave Neal. This is The Rush.